Hey, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, your Saturday morning cope. You can help support the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more WoW coverage, and catch me live where I'm streaming. So I was mostly right, patch 11.1 will go live the week of February 25th, giving us only one more full week to wrap up our Season 2 business. An article from Blizzard lists out all the season-related things to do before it's over with all the usual information. A link to that is in the video description if you need it. Folks have asked and Blizzard clarified. The Ascendant Sureki Skyrazor, which is the mythic mount, that's going to have the same drop rate all throughout this expansion. Unfortunately, there was no update on what currencies would and would not be zeroed out since a few weeks ago when we were told the coffer keys for delves that those would be reset. So for now, while I figure all our Radiant Echoes will be nuked or made useless, I'm not sure what's going to happen to undercoins. And unfortunately, the PTR wiped out all my reputations, so I can't test Paragon chests to see if I can get extra coffer keys. Otherwise, the patch seems as about ready as it ought to be, and by that I mean, of course, stuff is likely to break in the first few hours after a super long maintenance. But all the nastiest pain points seem to have been resolved, notably with the drive system. During initial builds, drive felt unresponsive and kind of unwieldy and hard to control. And maybe I'm showing my age here, but now it sort of feels like I'm playing F-Zero on the SNES, but in a city. It's really fast when getting from point A to point B, but for the more precise movement to the back streets, well, my trusty mount makes up for the lower speed. This most recent build revealed a few interesting things. I mean, okay, yeah, there was class tuning and the usual round of nerfs to your class and buffs for everyone else, grr, but also a series of nerfs to difficulty, notably with Mythic Plus. A lot of it's mechanical tuning, where a cast might take longer, or mob behaviors are changing, and of course there's health and damage reductions that come with, of course, seeing the debut of a dungeon into Mythic Plus. There are a lot of changes though, which makes me wonder if they're playing catch up with the feedback, or if they're doing a little bit more to adjust numbers ahead of time, before the complaints start coming in and they gotta tune things down anyway. But let me explain. One of the pain points with the start of a season, especially in Keys, is with the early difficulty, the first couple of weeks. When players feel too heavily penalized or punished early on, that tends to mess with their motivation to continue on for a whole season of potentially that kind of experience. So basically making the game easier makes gamers happy. It might sound as if we're coddling a bunch of whiny little babies who happen to have day jobs and families and obligations and so on, but it's not that. Season 1 did make it pretty apparent what happens when the difficulty comes too early. Of course, not to mention the other changes to crowd control and the nerfs to tank survivability. I think that's why we're seeing this pretty proactive or maybe an aggressive response from Blizzard with them shuffling around key levels and the dungeon tuning. They're making this bigger separation between the gearing side of keys versus the competitive side. Overlapping mechanics and complications, yeah, they'll come, but they'll come later. The resources to obtain powerful gear, that's gonna come sooner. And the blessing of Mythic Plus is thanks to its infinite difficulty. The problems players will face with class tuning and the meta and dungeon scaling, the one-shot abilities, the dependence on stops and all that stuff, that is gonna happen. But it's what an even smaller minority of players will face, like over on that side of things. I'm talking like those people are diseased or something. I've been drilling this in for a while now, but between this, the changes to crafting in the middle of Season 1, and the upcoming changes to delves, Season 2 of The War Within is going to feel very brisk from a gearing standpoint, which will bring to light the bottlenecks that folks will usually complain about, season caps. 1 crafting spark every 2 weeks without help from the vault. 90 available crests to earn per week. Now, that's going to fill up pretty quick at first, which might feel encouraging with, these upgrades to apply for those incremental gains. The challenge then will be whether gamers blow their crests and Valor Stones or push for better gear with what they've got. Whether it's gear that's just a higher upgrade level or on a different track altogether, as if someone's gearing from veteran all the way to hero gear or something. Currency starvation is one of the more common complaints we see in The War Within as we moved on from the era of super heavy RNG with the likes of War Forging, Titan Forging, Corruption, Legion Legendaries, and so on. Remember, it wasn't so long ago when the path to better gear was almost entirely rooted in hope. Today we enjoy a much more deterministic system with upgrades and currency management. For some gamers though, it works against them because, again, for some, predictability can be kind of boring. Knowing how long it takes to get the thing can easily lead to, hey, we should get it faster, or hey, I'm burning out. It feels like a drag. It feels like a daily routine. It's a chore. Blizz, this feels like a job. It's easy to jump there. Luck-based gearing from before versus this hybrid system of luck and farming as a form of curbing that bad luck. Which do you prefer? There's no wrong answer, but hey, there's a very healthy debate to be had in the comments. But let's return to the complaints. Despite how much gear we'll earn, the outcry I continue to hear is mostly around crest caps being too low and Valor Stones being annoying to farm. I'm not going to fight you on that, but I do want to share my currency strategy ahead of the Season 2 gearing guide that I'll have out in a few weeks, and here goes. As you're farming for gear and upgrade materials, whether you're running weeklies or doing keys, raids, delves, and more, don't spend as you go. Just keep saving your currencies and follow this priority, making adjustments, of course, depending on what your peak level of gearing is. Again, I'm just speaking from my point of view. Don't upgrade gear unless you're close to capping Valor Stones. Never use weathered crests, which translates to me saying, well, basically don't upgrade your veteran gear, wait and replace those pieces with champion gear and start using carved and rune to upgrade those, but only if you're close to capping Valor Stones. Champion gear, by the way, is fairly accessible to obtain by running delves, low-level keys, normal raids, the occasional weekly event, and crafting the equivalent. And speaking of, definitely use Valor Stones to assemble crafting sparks as they come in because you'll likely use them later, especially if your focus is not on plus 10 and higher keys or mythic raids. So the thought in my head is, instead of being impatient and spending my resources on gear I'm going to replace pretty quickly or early in the season, I'm going to wait until I can make the most of my upgrades and stretch out that investment. Waiting a little bit longer to replace the gear outright saves on tons of Valor Stones and Crest in the long run. I'll explain it more in the upcoming guide, but believe me, exercising a little bit of patience pays off a ton, and it saves you from feeling starved when you finally get that great piece of gear from the vault that you know you're going to hold on to for the rest of the season. Anyway, back on topic, I'm predicting gearing is going to feel pretty fast in Season 2, to the point where I question if we're going to get another case of the season feeling like it's taking too long, with a big part of that coming from players meeting their goals sooner than later. I don't think that there's some sort of insidious master plan. I think this is just Blizzard acting on feedback, and we're going to see how players react. But let's imagine, less than a year from now, player housing is going to try and wedge into our usual World of Warcraft routine. Housing, like anything else in WoW, it's not going to be for everyone, I get it, and don't worry, but it's going to be exciting to see them add what is a brand new thing to do in the game. In 20 years of WoW, we've yet to really build something we can call our own, outside of maybe our user interface, but that's kind of a stretch. Our UI is the lens at which the game communicates itself to us, whereas housing is our self-expression given form. It's something for us to build up and then take a step back and look at, or for others to visit and learn more about whoever it was that designed it. And in the future, folks like me, we're going to log onto WoW and we're going to do our thing, but maybe on an off night, I might want to work on one of the rooms or redo the layout of the yard because of a new decorative thing that I made, or maybe take a stroll around the neighborhood and see what others have been up to. Or maybe I'll upload a video of my latest monstrosity once someone makes an add-on to randomize a whole house. So in few words, yeah, I'm going to be playing house in this video game where I also kill internet dragons alongside friends and strangers, or go for the high score and covet these pixels. It's not going to happen overnight, but World of Warcraft is gearing towards this era where the gearing and prep phase side of things, it's going to feel a bit more brisk and natural, and players can feel like they can start playing the game a little bit sooner, whether it's pushing towards high performance goals or to not, because now there's more and more of these non-competitive and solo options available to fit all these different playstyles. The game is making room for all these different lanes of gameplay for us to switch between, and it's up to us to decide how we want to travel. That's the show, and I want to thank the incredibly supportive folks watching me live on Twitch and here on YouTube. It's always great seeing folks coming in for the first time, and hey, you're invited. To our patrons, you folks are amazing, and let's not forget about you, viewer. You made it to the end and fed the algorithm. Stay tuned right here for guides to answer your 11.1 questions and to help you get started. Now, if you don't mind, please like the video, subscribe for more WoW coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.